So I'm going to do a couple of stitches just to show you how to do it non-Portuguese style. So again, knits on the right, purls on the left, and you can do two continental or you can do two-handed. I'm going to show you the two-handed. I don't like the continental. I find that I twist my stitches, my yarns around each other a little too much because you forget to grab the yarn from the right place. So I have done the first pair of double knit stitches in the chart on this line, row, round, whatever. And I'm going to do the second one. And in this case, I'm switching colors. So I'm going to grab that, bring both yarns forward, and then purl that. So I am really bad with my right hand, folks. It's not comfortable for me. That's why I figured out to do the Portuguese style. But let's do that one more time. Okay, so that's the double knitted in the two-handed. I will switch back to the two-handed when we get to the double knit brioche section, but I want to show you my Portuguese and how fast it is. So I'm getting set up here with putting my purl yarn on my left shoulder. Give myself plenty of yarn and my knit yarn on the right shoulder. And again, I'm going over in the middle finger and the ring finger and over the middle finger and little finger and under the index and the ring finger. And I'm doing that on both hands to give myself tension. And this does require that I move the needles towards me a little bit to get good tension, but it's so much faster than my two-handed that this is why I chose it. Okay, I'm going to grab both yarns with my index finger and I'm going to knit with the appropriate color. I hope you can see that. I've just knit with that first color. And then I'm going to drop them in between and purl with and I'm grabbing the purl with my thumb. I am doing this in pattern, so the next stitch, I'm going to grab this yarn with the needle and drop. So it's literally just a matter of using that index finger to create the knit stitch, but I can grab both yarns at the same time. There's no putting it behind the needle and then coming in. Let me see here, where am I at? And then bringing them around forward. Okay. It's just, try to get those out of your way just a little bit better. Grab, drop, purl. Grab, drop, purl. And yeah, I did those right. And it's just a matter of grabbing whichever one you need. The thing that might be important, and I haven't tested this theory, but probably is important, is if you are going for this yarn, you know, the yarn on the right, when it's in the back, make sure you go over the top of this, not underneath it, because if you go underneath, you are going to twist. But it's really hard to go underneath it anyway because your fingers are in the way. So grabbing that yarn is really easy to do, and that's the wrong color pattern. So I'm gonna redo it. Just always go over the top of whichever one is the pearl color, right? So if it's in the back and I'm going for this one, I go over the top. If it's in the front and I'm going for this one, I'm going over the top. Your yarns will never tangle that way. Got quite a few stitches that I need to do here in this color pattern, but so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's half. No, that's a little more than half. Okay. 7, 8, and 9. Oh, I've got a caught stitch there, so I'm gonna fix that. I'd split the yarn on the previous row here. All right, now I'm gonna switch to this one being the knit color, so I'm just going over the top and grabbing it, and then that one's in place. So you can see just how quickly I can form those stitches with this method. Whoops. Nope, that's right. 1, 2, 3. Whereas when I try to do it two-handed, I really struggle. All right, now here's the transition point. I'm gonna drop these for a minute and show you these yarns are now both at the front. And to do the transition going from double knitted to double knitted brioche, you want to take your yarn, knit yarn to the back, because you don't need a yarn over here, right? And you're going to knit the first stitch. But now you need a yarn over for that stitch. So we're going to pull the pearl yarn over the top and around to the front. And to set up for the next knit stitch, you're going to bring the knit yarn to the front. And you're going to purl the next pair of stitches. Starting with both yarns at the front, take the knit yarn only to the back and knit the first double knit brioche stitch. Then take your pearl yarn, wrap it over that stitch to make your yarn over, and bring your knit yarn back to the front. Purl your next stitch with the pearl yarn. Okay, leave this to the front. Now you're going to create a yarn over by going over the top of the needle and create your next knit stitch. And remember, don't forget to knit both the yarn over and the stitch together. Purl yarn over the top, knit yarn around to the front, and purl your next stitch. Okay? And while that's perfectly doable with my two hands, and I do get slightly better tension with my right hand in the double knitted brioche than I do in the double knitting, it's still faster for me to do it with the Portuguese style and continental mixed. So I've set my yarns back up. I've got my tension on both yarns and my W in place. I'm going to just the knit yarn with my index finger and knit it. Flip the purl yarn over the top and just drop that, and it naturally comes between the two. And now I'm set up for the purl stitch. Over the top, knit, take that purl yarn over the top with your thumb, and as you drop, you just drop the finger as well, and it drops that knit yarn right in place for its next knit stitch. Purl the stitch with your thumb. Okay, I'm going to do this at speed just so that you can see how quickly this works for me. So I've done, you know, a dozen stitches practically in that amount of time. Okay, so let's look at this again with the two-handed. You've got your two yarns tensioned however you normally tension them. Both yarns are at the front after doing the purl stitch, so you're going to bring it over the top and knit the next stitch. You're going to bring that purl yarn over the top and the knit yarn between the two needles, and then purl your stitch. I've actually got a better tension right now than I've managed to do with my right hand in I don't know how many years. So this is actually going a little easier than it normally does for me, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, you can do it pretty quickly this way too. I think the trick for me here is just really, I'm wrapping that around my pinky and then around the index finger twice in order to feel like I've got good tension. Whereas with the Portuguese style, I literally just have to do that, and it gives me more than enough tension in both hands to accomplish that same speed and still get all those stitches in. And I really especially appreciate the fact that when I do that purl yarn over, all I'm doing is dropping my finger and that knit yarn is now in place for the next stitch. Let's work our way down till I get back to the double knitting, and I will show you the transition to the double knitting from the double knitted brioche. Okay, so I'm down to the last two brioche stitches. The knit stitch is going to be done exactly the same as it has been. I'm going to pull that yarn over the top of the needle to create the yarn over, and then I'm going to knit the next stitch. Now I'm going to purl as normal, making my yarn over. So let's do that again just to remind you. I have the knit yarn held to the back. Using my thumb, I'm going to pull the purl yarn over to create the yarn over, and then I'm just going to drop the knit yarn between the two needles and purl the next stitch. But now I'm at this point where I'm going to switch back to the double knitting. So in double knitting, you need both yarns at the back for that knit stitch, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up both yarns and I'm going to bring the needle between the two. Hope you can see that. See there between the two yarns, so that the purl yarn is just carried to the back, but the knit yarn is over the top of the needle. And now I can knit that first stitch, drop both to the front, and purl the second stitch.